Chapter 1, Soul Awakening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Douluo continent, Holy Soul village, in a dilapidated thatched house, a little boy with thin clothes and some malnutrition climbed up from the bed. Where is this? Han Tao instinctively scanned the surrounding environment. After a brief moment of silence, he began to recall his past. The child's memory was fragmented, but he still vaguely learned the key information of Holy Soul village. After thinking briefly, Han Tao understood his situation. This was the novice village in Douluo continent, and he was an orphan who grew up eating the food of hundreds of families. This dilapidated thatched house was built by the village elder Jack and the villagers together. The village chief, Old Jack, is a kind-hearted person. Han Tao has been able to survive these years thanks to the help of Old Jack. Han Tao, are you there? I am village chief Jack. The village chief's voice came from outside, but Han Tao didn't answer. To be more precise, he couldn't answer now. The language system of Douluo continent is different from modern times, and Han Tao has just completed time travel and is still not able to speak the dialect of Douluo continent very well. Although Han Tao is still very young, as a time traveler, he maintains the highest state of reason and calmness in this extremely strange place. He knew that Tang San and Tang Hao were also in Holy Soul village. Once he spoke a different language system, whether they understood it or not, there would be uncontrollable risks, but with the arrival of Old Jack, he had to deal with it. Han Tao walked out, performed the villagers' courtesy towards the old village chief, and then nodded solemnly. Old Jack was a kind old man, but his behavior was not shrewd and he did not notice anything unusual about Han Tao. Tomorrow is the day when the martial soul awakens, so don't oversleep. If you miss the time, you have to wait until next year. That he repeatedly warned and persuaded, hoping that Han Tao would take the awakening of the martial spirit seriously. Han Tao did not speak or refute, but listened to his warning seriously and nodded twice from time to time. Han Tao can understand Old Jack's language and can even repeat it in a short period of time. This is the muscle memory from the mouth. But if you want to organize your own language, you can't do it. The time traveled is too short, and Han Tao hasn't fully adapted yet. After waiting for Old Jack to leave, Han Tao sat down on the bed and slowly exhaled. Han Tao began to try to speak in the language of Douluo continent. It's not a big deal if you don't say anything. It is normal for a 6-year-old child to be speechless with both parents dead and no one to teach him. The next day, Han Tao, led by the old village chief Jack, came to the center of the entire Holy Soul village, a thatched house that was slightly less shabby. Above the thatched house, there is a relatively elegant plaque with the 3 characters Martial Soul Hall written on it. Han Tao didn't know those 3 words. From the thatched house, a handsome young man wearing white clothes and a black cloak walked out. Immediately, Old Jack began to introduce to the children. This is the fighting spirit master from the spirit hall, Su Yuntao. Old Jack walked up to the young man, performed a common courtesy, and said, I'm sorry to trouble you this time. That the villagers of Holy Soul village are full of gratitude to Old Jack, and at the same time, Old Jack is also grateful to the personnel of Wuhuan Hall. These low-level soul masters from the Wuhuan Palace come to the village every year to help children awaken their Wuhuan. What does that mean? This means that without this soul master, Holy Soul village will lose hope. There was a touch of pride in Su Yuntao's eyebrows, and he bowed slightly in return. I don't have much time, let's start now. Old Jack turned around and began to admonish the children again. The content was nothing more than cooperating with the soul master. Then the first child stepped forward. Lone Wolf, possessed. Following Su Yuntao's dazzling operation, the first child's martial spirit appeared, which was a sickle. Weapon spirit, I'm lucky, but I don't know if it has spirit power. But as the test continued, the light in the child's eyes dimmed. No soul power. Cold words came out of Su Yuntao's mouth, and Old Jack took the child aside to comfort him. The vast majority of people have no soul power. This Holy Soul village has not seen a soul master for several generations, and this time is no exception. Soon, it was Han Tao's turn to awaken his martial soul. As the light rose, a blue-silver grass lit up from the obsidian. It was obvious that this was his martial spirit. Lan Yin Chao, useless martial soul, next. Su Yuntao had no hope. He didn't even bother to help Han Tao test his soul power. Hearing his words, Han Tao suddenly became anxious. How could he not test his soul power? What if he had it? Can you help me test my soul power? That what is rare and valuable is that Han Tao spoke this time, and he spoke in the orthodox Douluo continent language. There are no mistakes and the words are clear. All right. Su Yuntao's attitude was a bit casual. He helped Han Tao test his soul power, and a weak light lit up from the stone pillar. Innate soul power, level 1. You're so lucky, but it's a pity that he is a useless martial spirit. It can be seen that Su Yuntao is also very happy. He traveled to 7 villages and finally awakened someone with soul power, which was rare. To be honest, he didn't hate his job, but after working hard for a long time without any results, anyone would feel bored. Han Tao didn't feel sorry. He didn't think there was anything wrong with the blue-silver grass. After all, it was his martial soul. After the martial soul awakened, Han Tao solemnly bowed to Su Yuntao, and then hurriedly left here, because next, it was Tang San's turn to awaken. If he accidentally saw the clear sky hammer in Tang San's hand, he might become immortal. Now he couldn't afford to gamble and didn't want to gamble. Back in his house, Han Tao began to feel his martial soul and record the changes in his body. My physical fitness has improved by about 10%, the improvement effect is not obvious, and the slight difference cannot be determined. Han Tao tested his strength after crossing, and he recorded his original physical fitness as 1, after awakening the martial soul, he retested his strength and the value increased to 1.1, and then, he wanted to figure out, if the soul power level is upgraded by 1 level, will his physical fitness become 1.21 or 1.2, this is a huge gap, because the former is an exponential growth, and the latter is a fixed accumulation, and the difference is huge at high levels. In addition to physical fitness, soul power and mental power also need to be recorded, but I lack the method to judge mental power, so this research will be put on hold for the time being. Han Tao sighed slightly. He was glad that he had awakened his martial soul, but also lamented the difficulty of the current situation, because next, he wanted to enter the Nodding Soul Master Junior College, and he would also face great risks. Chapter 2 Analysis of Meditation. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. There is only one quota for work-study students in the Holy Soul Village. Logically speaking, the old village chief will give it to himself. However, Tang San and Tang Hao are never reasonable. The gatekeeper of the Nodding City Junior Soul Master Academy just insulted Tang San twice, and he was on the verge of death. Remember, this is just a verbal dispute. The quota for work-study students belongs to interests. The dispute over interests is greater than the dispute over words. Once you grab the quota, it will be many times the way to death. When you don't have strength, you have to be humble. Han Tao understands this and understands it very deeply. Han Tao, we have a quota for work-study students in the Holy Soul Village. You can go to the Nodding City Junior Soul Master Academy to study. Do you want to go? Soon, the question of the old village chief Jack came over. After a moment of silence, Han Tao answered word by word. I remember Tang San seemed to have awakened his spirit as well. After hearing this, old Jack looked a little angry and waved his hand. Stop talking. I just came back from their house. That dead drunkard didn't agree with Tang San going to study. He also said something like, no one would cook for him if Tang San left. I said a few words to him and was threatened by Tang San. Alas, at this point, old Jack's eyes looked a little helpless. He had helped someone for so long to become a spirit master, but he turned his face in a blink of an eye. Oh, no, he hasn't become a spirit master yet. Thank you, old village chief. Han Tao didn't dare to agree. This was a difficult question. I want to ask, how much is the tuition for the Spirit Master Academy? Can I borrow some money? At this point, Han Tao felt a little embarrassed. Old Jack was kind and compassionate, and he would most likely agree to his request. Don't worry, I will definitely pay it back, for sure. Old Jack looked at Han Tao with expectations in his eyes, and after a moment of silence, he finally softened his heart. Okay, you must work hard. Half a month later, old Jack brought Han Tao to the Nodding City Junior Soul Master Academy. Perhaps Han Tao was not a work-study student, or perhaps he was not the concierge, and the two did not encounter any difficulties. The formalities were handled quickly, and not long after, Han Tao successfully enrolled and came to his dormitory. A tall young man came forward. When he saw Han Tao coming in, he made a simple judgment of him based on his clothes and appearance. Poor guy. And the kind of poor guy who slaps his face and pretends to be fat. Xiao Qinyu smiled contemptuously, and opened his mouth with villain-like sarcasm. Boy, call me boss. Faced with sarcasm, Han Tao did not even hesitate too much, and directly called boss. Then he placed the bedding on the bed next to him and asked sincerely. Boss, do you think I can sleep here? The sudden answer made him stunned, and for a moment, Xiao Qinyu was unable to get angry. Young children always love to save face. Han Tao called him the boss. If he bullied him again, it would be considered bullying a younger brother, which would be embarrassing to say. Okay. Xiao nodded. With the boss's approval, the other roommates stopped making things difficult for Han Tao and soon became friends with them. After dealing with the trivialities in life, Han Tao began to solve the first difficulty after entering school: recognize words. Don't think that recognizing words is a simple job. Being able to understand and speak is different from being able to write, and how can you, a normal 6-year-old child, recognize words? These need to be learned bit by bit. Han Tao spent a month to master the listening and reading problems of Douluo continent, while writing and reading require a longer period of precipitation. This is why Han Tao shamelessly asked old Jack to borrow money. For part-time students, there are too many trivial things. Not only do they have poor food and accommodation, but they also need to be responsible for cleaning, which takes up a lot of time. Part-time students need to apply to enter the library, and teachers may not answer questions when they ask them. Of course, Tang San has a master, so he obviously doesn't care about these. Meditation is the only way for soul masters to improve their level besides soul rings and soul bones. The teachers in Nodding City are quite good. In addition to teaching the basic characteristics of soul beast soul rings, the most important thing is to teach meditation. Most of the courses in Nodding College are centered around how to meditate and various meditation techniques. Meditation is a basic practice that uses mental power to mobilize soul power to run in the meridians, which is similar to Xiantian Gong. However, in terms of precision and upper limit, the gap between the two is like a natural chasm. Xiantian Gong can even improve innate soul power, but meditation obviously cannot do it. When he first came to Douluo continent, Han Tao was still a little naive. He thought he could easily change meditation to reverse his low innate soul power, but after actual operation, he found that it was not that simple. The difficulty of optimizing meditation is almost the same as the difficulty of developing new mathematical formulas in the previous life. If you want to optimize meditation, you must first learn meditation. Where is mental power? Where is soul power? How does mental power sense soul power? How to mobilize soul power? What meridians are there? What do meridians look like? These repetitive questions require soul masters to explore little by little, and all of this takes time. Han Tao wrote down in his notebook. Point 1. Mental power can be restored by sleeping. 2. Mental power is affected by soul power level. Low level of innate soul power means weak mental power. Less soul power can be mobilized, which makes it difficult to learn meditation. This is a vicious cycle, and I just happen to fall into this vicious cycle. What should I do? The dilemma is like a thick wall, blocking Han Tao's direction. Calm down, think, and don't use diligence in action to cover up the laziness of thinking. Han Tao began to think about solutions. Sleeping can restore mental power. Under the premise that mental power cannot be improved, it is particularly important to achieve higher sleep quality. Fatigue can significantly improve the quality of sleep. How to make yourself tired? It's not too simple. Exercise, study, exercise, meditation, any kind of operation can make people feel tired. So it seems that Yu Xiaojiang's running exercise is still useful. The premise is that he found that fatigue can enhance sleep quality and thus restore mental power faster. If not, running is almost meaningless. After setting his own growth plan, Han Tao began to implement his plan. Learning text, exercise, and meditation practice have become Han Tao's mainstream daily life. Oh, no, there is another one. Boss Xiao, you are the strongest among all the soul masters in our school. Xiao Qinyu raised his head arrogantly. Obviously, he was very pleased with Han Tao's compliments. Licking Boss Xiao was also a daily routine. As for why he did this, it was because the boss was unusually generous. From time to time, he would treat his younger brother to a meal when he was happy. The boy had self-esteem. Sometimes, in order to maintain his reputation, he would order 1 or 2 10-year soul beast meats. The taste. Chapter 3 Growth Base. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. When Tang San entered school, Han Tao avoided it because the master would expose his twin martial souls. If he hadn't become a disciple, Yu Xiaojiang would have had a way to die. When Tang San went out to hunt for soul rings, Han Tao avoided it again because he would immediately fight Xiao Qinyu when he came back. Why would he need to give it away when he has his own level 1 soul power? In Tang San's eyes, Han Tao, a small character with first-level soul power, simply looked down upon him. He himself is a big shot with innate soul power and twin martial souls, and he has been taught by the master of theory Yu Xiaojiang. How could he like such a first-level small character? Neither Old Jack nor Han Tao were destined to exist in the same world as him. The words are divided into 2 parts. Thanks to his hard work or his improvement in meditation, Han Tao finally broke through to the 2nd level of soul power 6 months after entering school. I'm level 2. I'm level 2. That this kind of breakthrough to the 1st level would like to declare that the whole world behaves like a clown. However, this is also the one that makes people let down their guard the most. Yu Xiaojiang and Tang San looked at Han Tao, who was in high spirits, shook their heads, and let out a contemptuous laugh. Maybe they both knew some humility, but the 100,000-year-old rabbit on the side didn't know what politeness was, so he laughed out loud. I've just awakened and reached level 10. You're only level 2 now. I really don't know what to be happy about. As if after realizing it, Han Tao saw Xiao Wu, who was laughing at him, pretended to be cowardly, and took half a step back. Han Tao seemed to be shocked, lowered his head in shame, and quickly walked away. Han Tao, it's okay. Low innate soul power doesn't mean anything. Ling Feng comforted him from the side. And the master also said that there are no useless martial spirits, only useless soul masters. Han Tao. Silence was Han Tao's statement. He was not shocked, but quietly began to record. When the soul power increases by 1 level, the physical fitness and soul power increase by close to 10% but less than 10%. It can be seen that when the soul power level increases within 10 levels, the physical fitness will increase by the same amount. Wrong. Han Tao suddenly turned his head and looked at Ling Feng. Ling Feng, can you move this stone? Ling Feng was stunned for a moment, but turned around and agreed. He stepped forward and lifted the stone with great difficulty. What? He turned his head in confusion. It's okay, you are awesome. Han Tao replied casually. Ling Feng put down the stone and smiled innocently. Obviously he was very satisfied with Han Tao's approval. Han Tao was stunned on the spot. If the physical growth of each level was equal, then according to estimates, Ling Feng should not be able to lift this stone. What is the reason for the difference in physical fitness? There must be something fishy about this. After a long time, Han Tao slapped his head. Martial spirit. As we all know, the physical fitness of soul masters with weapon souls and beast souls is significantly stronger than that of auxiliary souls. The quality of the martial spirit will also affect the gains obtained at each level. I don't know if the gain obtained at each level has been defined in the soul master world. Regardless, I will call it the growth base. After defining each level of improvement, Han Tao gradually understood why Ling Feng was able to lift the stone, because his martial soul's growth base was significantly higher than that of blue-silver grass. At the same time, Han Tao began to explore the growth base of different martial spirits, but soon, he discovered a desperate, even terrifying objective fact. The growth base of blue-silver grass is 0.1, while Boss Xiao's martial spirit is a wolf, and the growth base is fully 0.5, this is still an ordinary martial spirit. Han Tao can't even imagine how terrifying the growth base of those top martial arts, even god-level martial spirits is. Looking at it this way, blue-silver grass is really a waste. It was like a huge chasm cutting across Han Tao's face. After completing the theoretical analysis, he felt even deeper despair. The blue-silver grass martial spirit has innate soul power, which not only means that it is extremely difficult to upgrade, but also means that even if it is upgraded, it has no strength at all. Why? I sighed deeply. This world has such harsh requirements for talent. Tang San, his martial spirit is not blue-silver grass, and he also has a martial spirit called Clear Sky Hammer. Objective facts are often extremely cold, but they are there, and you have to accept them even if you don't accept them. Wait a minute, the growth-based theory has a serious conflict with Yu Xiaojiang's soul ring age theory, that the choice of the age of the soul ring depends on the physical fitness of the soul master, and because of the existence of the growth base, there is an almost huge gap between the waist soul and the top martial soul. The physical data of two people are completely different. How can it be possible to apply the same soul ring age theory? So Han Tao began to think about the reason. Junk martial arts spirits can't reach high levels at all, and the physical data in the early stage are not much different, which leads to the validity of the soul ring age theory. Being born with low soul power means that your cultivation speed is slow, you are older when you get the soul ring, and your basic physique is much stronger. If you have poor talent, your soul power cultivation speed will be slow. You will naturally exercise in order to survive. What the hell does this mean is that Yu Xiaojiang's soul ring theory only applies to intermediate and above martial souls. If low-level martial souls and ordinary martial souls believe his lies, they will die suddenly if they absorb the soul ring. Everyone is dead, so naturally no one refutes his theory. I want to know now, what is the growth base of his shitty Luo Sanpao? Why doesn't he explode? After recognizing the reality, Han Tao's expression became more and more silent, often wandering alone in the library and dormitory, as if he could not see any emotions. At first, Han Tao's roommates tried to comfort him, but after seeing it several times without any effect, they gave up the idea. In their eyes, Han Tao was just hit by Xiao Wu. After a while, he will naturally recover. 4 months later, Han Tao hugged Xiao Lao Da's thigh tightly. Xiao Lao Da, I can't lose you. Xiao Qinyu is already in the 6th grade. He will graduate at the end of this year and will leave Notting City Junior Soul Master Academy. Boss, you know me, I borrowed my tuition from the village chief. Xiao Qinyu looked ahead, without any response, pretending to be a master, but not long after, he was defeated, because more and more people were watching around him. Han Tao can be shameless, but as a boss, face is very important, even if he is about to graduate now. Xiao Qinyu asked calmly, tell me, what do you want? Golden soul coins. Boss Xiao, please lend me 20 golden soul coins. These 20 golden soul coins are the testimony of our friendship. Boss, Xiao Qinyu sighed, handed 25 golden soul coins to Han Tao, and said loudly. How can 20 be enough? I am not such a stingy person. His heart ached, but he still pretended to be generous. 20 golden soul coins is not a small amount, even he needs to feel sad. But since he had to give it anyway, he might as well be generous, so that he could show his status as a boss. Han Tao took the money, looked at Xiao Qinyu's face solemnly, and thanked him sincerely with sincere feelings. Thank you, Boss Xiao, you are my boss for life. After watching Boss Xiao leave school, Han Tao went to the principal's office of the college and paid the tuition for next year. Yes, he did not plan to repay old Jack's tuition now, but planned to study for another year. If there is a chance to become a soul master, the subsidy from the spirit hall can make up for all the debts. This is Han Tao's current idea. In the past 4 months, Han Tao's understanding of meditation has become more profound. He can now mobilize soul power to run in the meridians for 2 hours in a row. The long-term mobilization of soul power has made him discover an abnormal phenomenon, a hope that brings a ray of light in the endless darkness. Chapter 4 Soul Power Compatibility. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Question: How to increase soul power? A. Use meditation.q. How to operate meditation. A. Mental power mobilizes soul power to run in the meridians.q. Why can mental power mobilize soul power to run in the meridians increase soul power? Some people believe that long-term operation widens the meridians, resulting in more soul power, and when a certain limit is reached, the soul power level will naturally increase. Some people believe that the long-term operation of the meridians leads to an increase in the compatibility between the meridians and soul power, which improves the soul power absorption efficiency, operation efficiency, and accommodation, etc. Or, all of the above. Han Tao's innate soul power is particularly low, which also leads to his mental power being in a constant state for a relatively long time. The in-depth study of meditation has enabled him to explore the influence of meridian width and soul power compatibility on cultivation efficiency under the same mental power. The possibility of season affecting cultivation efficiency is not ruled out. This is the control group and the experimental group. It is very simple. They have all learned it before crossing. What does this mean? This means that long-term operation of meditation can effectively improve initial talent, but the next question is why Yu Xiaojiang can't break through level 29. Doesn't he know how to meditate? This is obviously impossible. There are so many soul masters in Douluo continent, and everyone is practicing meditation. Someone will always find this rule. Soon, Han Tao got the answer. The difficulty of soul power level upgrade is much greater than the growth rate of talent. When your talent growth reaches a certain limit, you are stuck if you can't break through the difficulty of soul power level upgrade. At this time, unless there are some natural treasures, soul bone techniques, etc., you will always be stuck at a certain level. At this time, you only have 3 strategies. The first is to modify the meridian route, which is to optimize the meditation method. It is extremely difficult and a life-threatening situation. The second is to widen the meridians, but widening the meridians requires soul power impact. Your martial soul is not good, which means that the growth base is low, and the total amount of soul power and mental power are weak. How to produce an effective impact? The third is to increase the soul power fit. This plan seems ridiculous to Han Tao. Although it is effective, it takes too long. After a year of soul power circulation, it only increases the soul power compatibility by a few points. To be honest, this thing still depends on the innate. However, it is not meaningless to draw these 2 conclusions. The definition of soul power compatibility makes Han Tao understand that talent can be changed, but it requires a very long time for soul power to flow. The number of meridians circulated by Shantiangong is much more than that of meditation, and the speed of soul power circulation is also much faster than that of meditation. Therefore, Tang San has been strengthening his cultivation talent since he was a child. Although his soul power is now full innate soul power, his talent has not reached full innate soul power, because the talent improvement is not so fast. Spiritual martial souls are chosen by heaven. Even if the innate soul power is not very strong, the talent can be strengthened by mobilizing soul power to clean the meridians with high spirit. Thanks to the discovery of soul power compatibility and the deepening of meditation, Han Tao's cultivation speed has accelerated again. Before the holiday, Han Tao's soul power reached the peak of level 3, only a step away from level 4. In 1 year, from level 1 to level 3, the span of 2.5 levels is quite expensive, especially for people with only level 1 innate soul power. This speed of improvement is obviously abnormal, but because the soul power level is too low, not many people pay attention to Han Tao's changes. After saying goodbye to his teachers and classmates, Han Tao returned to the Holy Soul Village again. Han Tao, our village still has to thank you. Old Jack walked up and greeted Han Tao back to the village with a smile. Because our village produced 2 souls last year, the Wuhuan Hall exempted our village from taxes this year. Looking at the smile of the village chief, it seems that the wheat fields beside the village are also brighter. These villagers are ordinary people. They don't understand the changes of soul masters. They only feel happy about the bumper harvest in the fields. Village chief, I may have to pay you back later. Han Tao laughed and talked to the old village chief awkwardly, but it was obvious that old Jack didn't care about it at all. If Han Tao didn't remember it clearly, he even suspected that old Jack had forgotten to borrow money. Let's talk about it separately. Also in a corner of the Holy Soul Village, a sloppy-dressed but muscular man was holding a heavy hammer. With the twist of his waist, the hammer hit the pig iron heavily. If there were people from the Haotian sect nearby, they would find that this extraordinary iron-making skill was the prototype of the chaotic cloak hammer method. The child stood beside the man. his eyes glowing with purple, observing the muscles of the sturdy man's body, the movement, flow, and the transmission of force, which gradually imprinted in his mind, yes, these two people are Tang Hao and his son. You try it. Tang Hao raised the hammer horizontally. This action requires great strength, at least Han Tao can't do it at present. Tang Hao picked out a piece of pig iron from the sundries and signaled Tang San to hammer it with the hammer method he just taught. Tang San's body was thin, but his quality was still above Han Tao. He used Tang Hao's skills just now, began to gather strength and rotate, and gathered strength again and again, hitting the pig iron. The moment the heart beats, it starts to exert force from the two calves, to the thighs, through the waist, back, and arms, and finally releases. The body is about to reach the highest point when the hammer bounces, driving the hammer to circle, and the collision between the hammer and the metal creates the rebound force is used as the initial blow of the next blow, and the power of each subsequent blow exceeds the user's full strength. Using this technique, he can directly shape a piece of pig iron into the shape he wants. Tang Hao's teaching was very detailed, so detailed that even Han Tao would benefit a lot from it. Does Han Tao want to steal his master? Even if he has every intention to steal his master, does he dare? How could a titled Douluo and a purple devil eye steal his own master without being discovered? Once discovered, Chun Chun would have no choice but to die, and there would be no possibility of survival. Therefore, Han Tao has been hiding away for a long time. In the Holy Soul Village, he finally found a place with abundant grass and began to practice his soul power. Why is it so noisy? Ding. When? Bang. Roar. In a distant corner, the faint sound of blacksmithing gradually reached my ears. This couldn't help but make Han Tao feel annoyed, but there was nothing he could do against Tang Hao and his son. It's that damn cloak again, Han Tao murmured, but it seemed that he suddenly thought of something. A hammer strike can transmit power in a specific way, so does the same apply to soul power? Han Tao doesn't know how to blacksmith, but he knows how to meditate. After the soul power circulates through the meridians, it needs to be condensed again. Is it possible to learn from the idea of the random cloak hammer method? Chapter 5 Level 10. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Theory exists, practice begins. Han Tao followed the rules of the meditation method and once again raised his mental power, spreading it within his body to pull the soul power. Unlike in the past, this time, Han Tao did not deliberately pursue the speed of soul power flow, but slowed down the flow as much as possible. The chaotic cloak hammer method requires the hammer to complete a new round of power accumulation in the collision with the iron ore, and this collision point will produce a huge shock. The location of this collision cannot be set in the meridians. The meridians are fragile and cannot withstand such strong power. It is difficult to recover from meridian rupture, and the practice of meditation method is closely related to the meridians. Once there is a problem with the meridians, it means that the road to soul power practice is completely blocked. Reducing the flow rate of soul power will obviously affect the efficiency of practice, but Han Tao has to do this. The slow flow rate brings a deeper perception of soul power, and also allows Han Tao to have a stronger control over soul power. Round after round, time always slips away unknowingly. 1 hour, 2 hours. The holiday is over, and Han Tao has made no progress. Any development is not achieved overnight. It requires a long period of exploration, summary, and thinking before there will be a flash of inspiration. Fortunately, in this state of hard practice, Han Tao's soul power level quietly broke through and reached the level 4 mark. This is really a fortunate thing, that with a smile on his face, Han Tao bid farewell to the Golden Wheat Field and returned to the Nodding City Junior Soul Master Academy again. Last year's work-study student, this year's work-study student, the master did not pay tuition for Tang San. Perhaps in his eyes, the teachers of the Soul Master Academy are not worthy of teaching talented students. Such students can only be correctly guided through their own advanced theories. Unlike the master, Han Tao never thinks that his theory is accurate. His theory is the corresponding conclusion based on the current narrow cognition. In a more macro or broader knowledge scale, these theories may not be completely correct. Therefore, in the future, he is likely to, or will definitely, overturn his past conclusions. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Should I persist? Han Tao would question himself every night during emo time. Reducing the flow rate of soul power would affect the speed of cultivation, and even the improvement of cultivation talent. However, this has not been without benefits. At least, Han Tao's perception of soul power and control have been greatly increased in the practice. Not long after, the change in soul power perception made Han Tao discover a new opportunity. There are certain singularities in the meridians. These singularities have a deeper capacity for soul power and have a higher strength than the meridians, and this singularity was called acupoint in ancient China. In Han Tao's conception, soul power circulates in the body's meridians, and when passing through the acupoints, it uses the principle of the chaotic cloak to complete a flow rate acceleration, thereby improving his own cultivation speed. But ideals are always ideals. Judging from the current situation, this is impossible to achieve. Opening the acupoints requires soul power to impact, and Han Tao's total soul power is not enough. After opening the acupoints, the soul power flow of the chaotic cloak requires a long time of practice and trial, and it is very easy to get injured. Deep treatment. Han Tao wrote a key term in his diary. If you want to optimize the meditation method, you must do experiments, and doing experiments means that the meridians and acupoints will be injured. Conventional treatments and soul skills can only treat external injuries, and cannot involve microscopic body parts such as meridians and acupoints. Therefore, he made a new definition for the treatment of meridians and acupoints. Forget it, let's not consider these for now. Han Tao collected the messy thoughts in his mind and decided to put aside this part of the research for the time being. Acupoints, meridians, and treatment are important, but for the time being, none of them are as important as the soul power level. Focus on improving the soul power level. This is Han Tao's strategy for the next 2 years. Life in the Junior Soul Master Academy is plain and everyone has their own life trajectory. Tang San is mostly in the surrounding blacksmith shop, Xiao Wu is always playing on the streets of Notting City, and the master likes to stroll around the school holding his top 10 core competitiveness of Wuhuan. Every time he met a student, Yu Xiaojiang would hold his head high, proudly showing the honorary professor badge on his chest, and then wait for the student's praise. After 2 years of ups and downs, everything has changed. At this moment, Han Tao's soul power level has finally reached the top of the novice village. Yes, he is already level 10 and can get his first soul ring. What soul beast to choose for the first soul ring is a question worth exploring. He once learned about the master's theory and thought that Yu Xiaojiang's theory has certain merits within a narrow range. Tang San's first 2 soul rings use soul skill matching, the core of which is how to use the soul skills of the soul ring to make himself have the strongest combat power. For example, if level 29 is Tang San's peak, then the 2 soul skills chosen by the master will indeed increase Tang San's combat power the most. If Tang San does not know hidden weapons, if Tang San's martial soul is blue silver grass, if Tang San can only reach level 29, then Yu Xiaojiang's theory is completely correct. You know, this is the path that Master Yu Xiaojiang has personally studied and verified. In addition to soul skill matching, there is also a martial soul evolution selection. Route: choose a soul beast that is similar or the same as the martial soul to strengthen the origin of your martial soul. After selecting 3 to 5 similar soul rings, the origin of the martial soul is strengthened, thereby promoting the evolution of the martial soul. The lower the level of the martial soul, the easier it is to evolve. Unfortunately, it is not easy for low-level martial souls to upgrade, and their combat power is weak, so it is not so easy to obtain soul rings. Han Tao came to the principal's office and knocked on the wooden door gently, making a dull sound. "Come in." An old but slightly strong voice came from inside. "Hello, Principal Su." Pushing open the door, he walked into the principal's office and performed a routine courtesy. It turns out to be Han Tao. "What's going on? Which book do you want to borrow this time?" Han Tao came here when he was in the 2nd grade and borrowed a copy of Douluo Wild History from the principal. The content inside can be said to be quite explosive. "My soul power is level 10. This time I came here to ask the teacher for help in hunting soul rings." "Oh." The principal raised his eyes and frowned slightly. "Do you know that when students graduate, teachers will help hunt soul rings for free?" The principal's tone was a little cold, and he continued to add. "This is the rule, Yes, Tang San was taken out by Yu Xiaojiang, and Xiao Wu's soul ring condensed by herself. And ordinary students can only find wild teams on the edge of the soul-hunting forest to enter, which is what Xiao Qinyu did. The result is already obvious. His first soul ring is only white, and it has not even reached 100 years. Han Tao was inevitably a little disappointed, but still humbly replied, I know. Looking at Han Tao's appearance, Principal Su shook his head slightly and replied indifferently, you go back. Han Tao closed the door of the principal's office, and a slight voice came from inside, gradually fading away. Teacher Li's family is sick, please take a leave for 2 weeks. Chapter 6 Soul Ring Selection. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Han Tao's eyes lit up. Principal Su's words were a reminder to him. Teacher Li's request for leave means that he will not be under his control during the leave period, so there is no need to consider school rules. A family member is sick, which means he needs money very much, so he can use the reward to ask Teacher Li for help. Asking Teacher Li for help with remuneration means that the relationship between the two is an employment relationship, not a teacher-student relationship. Even if this is spread, it will not violate the school's rules. This also means that Han Tao and Teacher Li have reached an agreement that it will not have any negative impact on the Notting Junior Soul Master Academy. In fact, the last time Yu Xiaojiang took Tang San to hunt for soul rings, it was an exception. This was a violation of school rules, but since Yu Xiaojiang had a papal decree, Principal Su had nothing to do with him. Privilege itself is a violation of rules. Teacher Li's name is Li Gang, a level 34 soul master. His martial soul is a huge axe, which looks very powerful from a distance. When Han Tao found him, he was packing his bags in the office. His overall movements were a little impatient, and there was a hint of sadness in his brows. Teacher Li, Han Tao shouted and asked, can you do me a favor? Seeing Han Tao coming, Li Gang wanted to smile, but his bitter mentality made his expression a little embarrassing. What's up? Can you help me hunt for a soul ring? Hearing Han Tao's words, Li Gang frowned. Obviously he didn't want to agree to Han Tao's request. Just when Li Gang was about to refuse, Han Tao's urgent voice came. Teacher Li, I know your family is sick. So I want you to help me hunt for a healing soul ring so that I can help your family heal their illnesses. If you want to ask for help from others, the best way is to let others agree with your own interests. Han Tao is very poor, and he cannot afford to ask Teacher Li to hunt for the gold soul coins of the soul ring. Li Gang did not agree, but looked at Han Tao's face very seriously. Your first soul ring, are you going to choose treatment? Then do you know that if you do this, you will not have any fighting ability in the soul master stage? Han Tao nodded extremely solemnly and chose the healing soul ring, which in itself was his selection strategy, but he was still afraid that Li Gang would refuse, so he continued to add. Teacher Li Gang, if the soul skills I obtained cannot heal your relatives, I am willing to give you the gold soul coin subsidized by the Wuhuan Palace as a reward. Wuhuan Palace will subsidize the soul master with 1 golden soul coin every month, which is a drop in the bucket for a soul master like Li Gang. As long as he has any conscience in his heart, he will definitely not ask for Han Tao's money, but if he doesn't want it, Han Tao has to give it. This is a matter of attitude. No, you should treat that subsidy as tuition. Seeing Han Tao's statement, Li Gang was silent for a moment and then agreed. This transaction itself is beneficial to him. You must know that Notting City is a small city, and the medical resources in this small place are very poor. If Li Gang wants to treat his family members, he must go to Tiando City to find a medical soul master. This is obviously a huge expense, and if helping Han Tao obtain the soul ring can achieve the same goal, that would be great. Han Tao, have you ever thought about what soul beast's soul ring you want? Under the leadership of Li Gang, Han Tao followed him to the soul-hunting forest, and he asked as he walked. Begonia flowers, fluorescent grass, and sunflowers are also acceptable if conditions permit. Han Tao had only seen introductions to these plant soul beasts in books and texts, but he was not sure of the specific therapeutic effects they could produce. When you find the soul beasts, you need to test their healing effects. This will trouble Teacher Li. These plant-based soul beasts, especially the healing plant-based soul beasts, usually have little combat power. Even with Han Tao's current level, they are enough to hunt alone, but things cannot be viewed one-sided, because in addition to your target, there will be other dangers in the soul-hunting forest. Li Gang nodded, summoned his martial spirit, and cut a black wolf into 2 pieces. A strange aura of soul power floated up from the black wolf's body and gradually condensed into a white soul ring. It's a very beautiful bracelet. It would probably fetch a lot of money in modern times. While thinking to himself, he took out his dagger, cut the wolf's thigh meat into several parts, wrapped them in special rice dumpling leaves, and stored them in his backpack. After rearranging his backpack, Han Tao caught up with Li Gang and continued deeper into the soul-hunting forest. In the heart of the soul-hunting forest, the trees couldn't help but grow taller, with layers of leaves blocking out the sunlight. A ray of golden light shines on the ground through the gaps in the leaves, showing colorful falling shadows. In the place where the sun was exposed, this little flower was holding high. Seeing this moment, Han Tao couldn't help but let out a cry of surprise. Begonia flower, 3-leaf crabapple flower. Begonia flower is a common healing spirit in Douluo continent, and it also has a corresponding spirit beast. Because of its good healing effect, it is widely praised in the spirit master world. When the begonia flower grows to 100,000 years, the 3rd leaf will appear. According to unofficial historical records, if the begonia flower grows to 100,000 years, the begonia flower will have 9 leaves, which is also the origin of the name Nine-Hearted Begonia. Li Gang saw Han Tao's cheerful look and asked with a smile, "Do you think this soul beast can do it?" But to his surprise, Han Tao did not agree directly, but replied, "Don't worry, let's see its healing effect first." At Han Tao's request, Li Gang caught a 10-year-old gray wolf. Han Tao was not in a hurry. He first cut off the gray wolf's fur and carefully explored the gray wolf's body structure. After considering it for a while, he suddenly swung the dagger and cut a shallow cut on the gray wolf's thigh. Although the wound was not big, this dagger cut its hoof tendon with great precision. The gray wolf's wound began to bleed. Han Tao bandaged its wound with zone leaves and then placed it next to Heitanghua. Heitanghua felt the soul beasts around and began to release its soul power. The healing energy was transmitted to the gray wolf's body in waves, and the cuts on the skin healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Almost. After a long time, Han Tao pulled the gray wolf over and cut its fur again. What a pity. Heitanghua did not connect to the gray wolf's hoof meridians, and even said that the place where the hoof tendon was broken did not get any growth. Han Tao tested it several times again and had no choice but to give up this soul beast. The healing effect of the crabapple flower is good and the effect is fast, but its treatment is not deep and does not involve the microscopic level. This is undoubtedly a pity for Han Tao. I am not very satisfied with this one. Let's find the next target. If the next one is still not satisfactory, then choose this crabapple flower. Li Gang glanced at the crabapple flower and then glanced at the gray wolf. According to what he saw, he could not see clearly that Han Tao was not satisfied with this crabapple flower. Okay, don't be so anxious. If you are not satisfied, you can continue to look for it. Thank you. Chapter 7: The First Soul Skill. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Fluorescent grass is a very common plant in Douluo continent. Just because 10-year-old fluorescent grass is common does not mean that century-old fluorescent grass is common. In 2 days, Li Gang and Han Tao almost went back and forth to the soul-hunting forest several times, but they never saw the century-old fluorescent grass. However, after Han Tao's tests, he found that the treatment of fluorescent grass can have an impact on the microscopic level of organisms. Therapeutic effect. Weak, treatment depth, high. These two are characteristics of fluorescent grass. La Nin Chao. Your natal martial spirit, Li Gang suddenly shouted. Right in front of him, a 400-year-old blue-silver grass was swaying in the wind. It can be said that for a blue-silver grass martial spirit, the first soul ring to meet blue-silver grass is the extreme year of 400 years, so it can be called the chosen one. Han Tao glanced at the blue-silver grass longingly, remained silent for a long time, and finally shook his head. Forget it. Let's just stick to fluorescent grass. You don't have to do this. Everyone knows how cherished the soul beast is. There is no need for you to give up your future for this ridiculous deal. Yes, in Li Gang's view, choosing treatment for Lan Yincao's first soul ring was giving up his future. Han Tao took another deep look at Lan Yincao, finally made up his mind and walked away resolutely. As he moved forward, the blue-silver grass seemed to gradually become illusory, and somewhere in the dark, some kind of shackles of fate were cut off by the blade. Another day later, on the edge of a cliff, Han Tao finally found his goal. 100-year-old fluorescent grass. Han Tao took out his dagger and cut off the roots of the fluorescent grass with all his strength. Without any surprise, a burst of soul power rose up and condensed into a light yellow soul ring in the air. Han Tao sat cross-legged and began to absorb the soul ring using the meditation method. The process went smoothly, and the yellow soul ring was attached to the martial soul. I want treatment, I want treatment, I want treatment. Han Tao thought silently in his heart. There is actually no accurate answer to whether subjectivity can affect the generation of soul skills, but at present, there is an optimal strategy, which is to believe that it can be done. If you believe that you can choose subjectively, then there is half a probability of being optional and half a probability of randomness. If you don't believe it, your denial will question your subjectivity, leading to subjective failure or wrong results. Perhaps it was the subjective effect that made Han Tao obtain a healing soul skill without any surprise. Fluorescent, weak, insignificant soul power was transmitted from the blue-silver grass. There were no earth-shattering special effects, only ordinary soul power fluctuations. Han Tao looked at the faint light in front of him and smiled with satisfaction. Let's go heal your family. After the soul ring was assembled, Han Tao began to fulfill his promise. This is a very remote village. When Han Tao arrived, he happened to find a spirit master from the spirit hall awakening spirits for the children in this village. This situation reminded him of how he was one of these children 3 years ago. Let's go, there's nothing to see here. Han Tao's face was a little sad. He didn't know when it started. Seeing this, he felt a little sad and relieved at the same time. After wiping away the complicated emotions in his heart, he came to Li Gang's home. It was his mother who was sick. Fluorescent, although the treatment was weak, it was meticulous. Under the influence of soul power, Li Gang's mother's condition quickly improved. Thank you. This time, it was Li Gang who sincerely thanked Han Tao. It's okay, this is just a promise. Han Tao didn't say anything stupid, such as Li Gang was his friend. With his current level and strength, he was not worthy of being friends with Li Gang. Yes, he doesn't deserve it yet. After bidding farewell to Li Gang, Han Tao registered as a soul master in Wuhuan Hall and received the basic subsidy for a soul master. The process went very smoothly, and there was no such thing as recruitment by a bishop. Perhaps they felt that their talents were too rubbish and they were not worthy of being recruited into the spirit hall. Well, that's indeed the case. There is nothing to be fragile about. Han Tao is very calm and rational, and he recognizes the reality. After returning to the academy, Han Tao calmed down and began to think and summarize. When he first traveled through time, Han Tao's initial physical fitness was 1. After awakening his martial spirit, it became 1.1. At level 10, Han Tao's physical fitness is 3.1, which includes the initial 1.0, age growth of 1.1, and soul power level of 1.0. After equipping the soul ring, Han Tao's soul power level reached 11, and his physical fitness is now 3.9, 2.1, basic, plus 1.2, soul power level, plus 0.6, soul ring enhancement. Han Tao began to record in his diary. 1. Starting from level 10, the growth base of blue-silver grass increases from 0.1 to 0.2. It is not sure whether there will be a change at level 22. The increase rate of soul power is the same as that of physical fitness. Mental power cannot be measured, and the base of growth is uncertain. 3. Additional soul rings can improve physical fitness, soul power, and spirit. After recording, Han Tao is ready to start making plans for the next growth. Deep healing soul skills are crucial to growth and have an incomparable effect. For me, the benefits brought by deep treatment are even as good as grass jelly. Why do I say this? Because with the healing soul skill, Han Tao can start to explore the meridians and acupoints, which is the fundamental cornerstone for the birth of future cultivation techniques. After having the healing soul skill, Han Tao can do overload exercise and completely solve the defect of weak physical fitness. Without treatment, if you dare to overload exercise, you will be useless because the microscopic injuries are irreversible. From this moment on, everything will be completely different. Before obtaining the healing soul skill, Han Tao had never done intensive training, and his training focus had always been on the growth of soul power, but now, he has a new plan: running, push-ups, squats, sit-ups. These common exercise movements in his previous life were immediately copied by him. The lower the physical fitness, the more obvious the effect of these exercises. Han Tao, who is currently holding the treatment, does not need to consider whether the plan is reasonable and scientific. The more pain he can endure from the exercise, the more physical improvement he will get. Endless pain will turn into strength, and what is more terrifying than pain is the powerlessness in the face of reality and objectiveness. When the dawn appears, nothing can stop Han Tao's will. For 2 months, a full 2 months, every day, Han Tao squeezed his body, and the boundless pain dragged him forward, but the pain brought him an equal reward. It can be said that Han Tao's physical fitness has increased by nearly 0.1 every day. In 2 months, Han Tao's physical fitness has increased from 3.9 to 7.4, and this is only equivalent to Xiao Qinyu's level. Yes, I caught up. With a useless martial soul, I have caught up with ordinary martial souls in the dimension of physical fitness. However, in addition to physical fitness, there are also soul power, spirit, martial soul strength, and training speed. The inferiority of martial souls means backwardness in all aspects. The useless martial soul of blue silver grass is not what the soul master said, which can be simply described as waste. It can be said that a normal blue silver grass soul master, who grows to level 50, cannot catch up with the combat effectiveness of a level 20 combat soul master. Fortunately, blue silver grass cannot break through to level 50, so they do not need to face such a miserable life. Chapter 8 Carefully Designed. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. It is obviously a joyful thing that the physical strength has caught up with ordinary soul masters. Han Tao was not overwhelmed by this seemingly slight joy, because this kind of growth seems too cheap for some soul masters. Perhaps, only a waste martial soul like himself would regard these sporadic physical improvements as a rare pleasure. Then, the next core is meditation. That the difficulty of optimizing the meditation method is not something he can challenge now. Even with the soul skills of deep treatment, Han Tao cannot easily open up unfamiliar meridians, or the so-called acupoints. However, in Douluo continent, high-level meditation methods still exist. Returning to the Nodding City Junior Soul Master Academy, Han Tao saw those students again, and he couldn't help but feel a little superior. Look, I'm a soul master now. Bang! Han Tao suddenly slapped his head hard to dispel his ridiculous sense of superiority. Everyone will be arrogant, and Han Tao is no exception. It is precisely because of this that restraining himself is precious. After passing through the classroom and the library, Han Tao came to the principal's office again and knocked on the door in front of him. Principal, I want to apply for graduation early. Seeing Han Tao coming, Principal Su picked up a teacup and smiled. Have you broken through to the soul master level? Han Tao nodded and showed the first pale yellow soul ring on his martial soul. First soul skill, fluorescent. As the faint healing light was emitted, the principal nodded with satisfaction and agreed. It just so happens that the students of this school year are graduating. You can go with them. Han Tao agreed, but suddenly, he seemed to think of something and asked Principal Su. Principal Su, can you help me write a letter of recommendation for admission? The letter of recommendation is meaningless to a genius like Tang San, but it is too important for a waste like Han Tao. Under Han Tao's flattery, Principal Su still agreed. After all, who would refuse the reasonable needs of a child? Afterwards, Han Tao was taken to the playground by the principal, and completed the relevant graduation ceremony under the witness of teachers and students. The Junior Soul Master Academy of Nodding City issued Han Tao a graduation certificate with the emblems of the Heaven Do Empire and the Spirit Hall engraved on it. Next, I should find a new academy. Han Tao accepted the certificate and recommendation letter and thanked the principal again. Then, he prepared to leave this relatively dangerous novice village. In fact, for now, Han Tao has few places to go. Shrek Academy. this academy only accepts geniuses, the tuition is expensive, and it is very good at teaching geniuses into waste. Han Tao doesn't even consider going there. The Royal Academy of the Heaven Do Empire is a good place, but it only recruits nobles and relatives. With Han Tao's identity, don't think about hitting a wall. The admission rules of the Four Elements Academy are quite extreme, and Han Tao also does not meet any of the conditions. Lan Ba Academy is the most suitable for civilians like him, but even for Lan Ba Academy, the entrance examination requires level 20 to enter. Among the top 3 sects, Haotian's sect has many rules and a weird sect. But if your martial soul is Haotian Hammer, the strength of Haotian Jiujue can make up for all the shortcomings. Tang San and Tang Hao relied on the 9 clear sky to eliminate the generation gap between the top-level martial souls and the god-level martial souls. This is a very amazing skill. Forget Han Tao, his martial soul is not the clear sky hammer, and the clear sky sect is secluded and cannot be found. The Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex sect belongs to a kinship community. The management of the entire sect is determined by the bloodline clan. People with other surnames have an extremely low status in it and are usually exploited. It is impossible for outside soul masters to enter the core class, so this rotten family has nothing to rely on. At present, the 7 Treasures Glazed sect is the best, because the sect master is an auxiliary soul master and cannot break through the soul Douluo, limited by the strength of the sect master. They must win over geniuses, make friends with the powerful, and get along with both sides. Only in this way can they maintain the status of the Sansheng sect, and precisely because of this, this is an excellent place for Han Tao to rely on. Not only that, the combat power of the upper and lower levels of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect is a cliff. They are very eager for geniuses to appear. In the original book, they repeatedly tried to win over Tang San because of this. If you can show a little talent in the 7 Treasures Glazed sect, you will get rewards and resources that you can't even imagine in other sections. It's you, the 7 Treasures Glazed sect. Han Tao made up his mind and decided to take a gamble. With his waste talent of level 11 blue silver grass, it is highly likely that they will not be optimistic about it, but compared to other sects, the 7 Treasures Glazed sect is the easiest to pass. Nodding City is some distance away from the 7 Treasures Glazed sect. On the way, you need to pass through the edge of the Star Do Great Forest. At Han Tao's current level, it is still a bit dangerous to go there, but Han Tao has a way. He first followed the team of graduated students to Tiando City, and then followed the caravan of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect to successfully arrive in front of the Sect Mountain. Is this the 7 Treasures Glazed sect? There was also a guard at the front of the Sect Mountain. He performed his duties and asked Han Tao, "Who are you? What do you want to do in our 7 Treasures Glazed sect?" Han Tao was still young and didn't look fierce, so the guard was very kind. Looking at the guard's question, Han Tao pretended to be nervous, lowered his voice, and answered with a hint of timidity. "I am a fresh graduate, and I came here to study." The guard scratched his head and answered with some doubt. "But our sect does not recruit students." Seeing Han Tao standing there in a dilemma, he was a little at a loss for a moment, and looked at the child with some confusion. Han Tao took out his graduation certificate, recommendation letter, and identity guide, and looked at the guard with sincere eyes. Perhaps he was soft-hearted. The guard finally took the objects in Han Tao's hand and responded to Han Tao's expectations. "Okay, I'll help you report it." After that, he walked towards the inside of the mountain gate, while Han Tao stayed alone. Yes, the 7 Treasures Glazed sect is not a school. They are eager for geniuses and attract geniuses, but there is no precedent for recruiting students. Han Tao became the first case. The child born in a remote area, after graduating from school, did not take any school exams, and came from afar, stumbling, to a sect that had never recruited students. Isn't this a kind of fate? This is a carefully designed fate, and it is also Han Tao's real entrance examination. He never thought that his so-called talent could impress Ning Fengzhi, but sincerity, quality, and fate may give him an answer. Chapter 9, Joining the Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Han Tao stood there. An hour passed and no one came out. 2 hours passed and still no one came out. He just waited there stupidly. 5 hours later, an imposing middle-aged man wearing a white robe walked out of the mountain gate with 2 old men. Han Tao was surprised that the visitor turned out to be the sect leader. learn from the past and learn from those behind. The last time those who came to the sect to worship the mountain were Chen Xian and Chen Yin. It was a pity that. This kid, are you Han Tao? Ning Fengzhi asked. Han Tao nodded and replied, yes. Then why did you choose to study in our sect? Ning Fengzhi's expression condensed slightly, as if she was expecting Han Tao's answer. Han Tao was silent for a moment, and began to profile Ning Fengzhi's image in his mind. Ning Fengzhi is a very shrewd character. If he has not appeared in the past few hours, it is very likely that he is investigating his identity. If he lies at this time and talks about fate, there is a high probability that he will not be able to hide it from him, so he was simply more sincere, so instead of hiding anything, he expressed his analysis. My talent is very poor, my innate soul power is only level 1, and my martial soul is blue silver grass. This is my own shortcoming, and it is also an objective fact. It cannot be avoided and should be done openly and openly. Tian-Do Royal Academy, Lan Ba Academy, For Elements Academy, etc., due to the influence of my talent, there is a high probability that they will not accept me. I have heard about the benevolent reputation of the Qibao Glazed sect for a long time. I came here to study after hearing about this name. But to be honest, I am not sure that the sect master can take me in. I came here this time just to gamble on my luck. After hearing Han Tao's answer, Ning Fengzhi did not give him an answer. Instead, he tapped the ring with his fingers, as if thinking about something. After a while, Han Tao heard Ning Fengzhi's voice. Since ancient times, our Qibao Glazed sect has never had any precedent of admitting students, so please come back. Hearing his answer, Han Tao lowered his head in disappointment. Thank you, Sect Master Ning, for coming to give me an answer. Han Tao is disturbing me. After finishing speaking, Han Tao walked down the mountain. Not long after, Han Tao met the coachman who sent him to Qibao Glazed sect again. How is it? Did the sect master let you enter the mountain? Han Tao shook his head and answered helplessly. Look, I've come out. What do you think the result will be? The driver stepped forward, patted Han Tao's shoulder gently, and continued to ask. I failed in my studies this time. Do you have any other plans? Han Tao shook his head again. After the guard took away the graduation certificate and letter of introduction, he did not return it. This also meant that he lost the qualification to study again. I will go to the academy and try a few more times. If I continue to fail, then I will accept the reality. Han Tao answered the coachman, and then looked into the distance, as if this way he could forget the troubles just now. The sun is still high in the Douluo continent, and the blue-silver grass on the roadside is swaying with life. It seems that there are still many beautiful things in this world. Forget it, even if there is no protection from the sect and the academy, blue-silver grass may not have no future. Sitting in the car, Han Tao thought to himself secretly. The light in his pupils was still bright, and it was obvious that these setbacks were not worth giving up. Call. Unknowingly, Han Tao's soul power surged, and after a moment, his soul power reached the 12th level mark. You made a breakthrough. The driver was a little surprised. Well, I've been stuck at level 11 for a long time. It's not easy to break through now. It's not easy to break through from level 1 innate soul power to level 12 in 3 years. Seeing Han Tao's condition, the coachman sighed. Hearing his sigh, Han Tao was stunned for a moment. He turned to look at the coachman and stared straight at him. He suddenly realized that there was something wrong with the coachman. No, are you driving in the wrong direction? The coachman smiled and responded to Han Tao. Yes, don't you want to learn? I will take you in. What surprised Han Tao was that the coachman's progress was not blocked by the guard, but entered the mountain gate naturally. It's okay, little friend. The carriage stopped, and what came face to face was Ning Fengzhi's big face, who greeted Han Tao. Han Tao was a little confused. Just now, not long ago, didn't Ning Fengzhi reject his offer of worship? Why did he agree to let him in now? Actually, it was just a test for you to see how you behave after being rejected. If you become resentful towards my clan, or give up hope because of failure, then the coachman will send you back to Nodding City. Han Tao just smiled and said nothing. If he felt resentful, he would probably not be able to return to Nodding City. Well, since you have joined the Qibao Glazed Sect, you are one of our own. With that said, Ning Fengzhi pulled the coachman aside and introduced to Han Tao, this is Manager Ning of our Qibao Glazed Sect. He is responsible for various chores of the sect. He will be responsible for your admission to the sect. Manager Ning took over Han Tao from Ning Fengzhi. He had a good impression of this child who came from afar to study, so he introduced various affairs of the sect to Han Tao in great detail. Under the leadership of Guanshi Ning, Han Tao also met the little princess Ning Rongrong in the book, a relatively beautiful girl, but apart from that, Han Tao didn't have much impression. The difference between their identities was too big, and there was no possibility of any contact at present. After joining the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect, Han Tao began his own study journey in the sect. First of all, the most important thing is meditation method. Han Tao currently doesn't have the courage to optimize the meditation method, but he still has the courage to learn new advanced meditation methods. The Seven Treasures Glazed Sect is at least one of the top 3 sects, and the rules within the sect are relatively open, without any weird regulations that are self-satisfied. Soon, Han Tao obtained a new meditation method and a new soul power practice technique. Compared with the elementary meditation method of Nodding City, the meditation method of the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect requires more meridians to be circulated and more complicated. His extreme practice speed is faster, but the practice difficulty is higher, and it takes more time to master it perfectly. It seems that there are more profound soul power practice plans in the sect. Han Tao paused for a moment when he remembered this. Because of his talent problem, it took Han Tao a year to master the elementary meditation method. However, because of the previous foundation, it doesn't take that much time to master the new meditation method. Sensing the meridians, recognizing the meridians, and understanding the meridians have become one of Han Tao's pleasures in life. At this point, we have to talk about the advantages of the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect. As a sect disciple of the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect, you don't need to bear many obligations. You just need to practice, and practice every day. The sect will meet almost all the needs of the disciples in life. More importantly, the Seven Treasures Glazed Sect is really rich, and there is a salary of 50 gold soul coins every month. Damn, this is 50 gold soul coins. Chapter 10 Ning Fengzhi's Test. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. What did he do with the 50 gold soul coins? Ning Fengzhi stood on the top of the tower and asked Manager Ning. It's been sent, part to Holy Soul Village and part to Nodding City. Manager Ning replied as promised. Ning Fengzhi heard his report and nodded with satisfaction. It seems that I didn't see the wrong person. Zhongzhongzhu Ning has a sharp eye and can discover such a good-natured jade. Hearing his compliment, Ning Fengzhi laughed twice. It was obvious that Han Tao's actions made him a little happy. In more than 3 years, the soul power has reached level 12 from level 1, and the soul power has been improved to nearly level 3 every year. Rongrong's cultivation speed is nothing more than this. Looking at his physique, this growth curve is obviously not in line with the laws of blue-silver grass. You should feel it. What Ning Fengzhi was referring to here was the pat on Han Tao's shoulder by the coachman. Based on some microscopic data, Ning Fengzhi came to a shocking conclusion. Han Tao was probably not a genius. Manager Ning congratulated from the side. It seems that our Qibao Glazed Sect has welcomed another Tiger General. The Xinqing test is almost done. Find a suitable time and hand over the distraction control method to him. Ning Fengzhi said calmly. The distraction control method is one of the core skills of the Qibao Glazed Sect. According to common sense, it cannot be easily handed over to outsiders. Therefore, this teaching was Ning Fengzhi's 4th test on Han Tao. The first test is a question in front of the mountain gate. The second test was the driver's communication. The third test was Han Tao's handling of the golden soul coin. The external power of the Qibao Glazed Sect was very large. After investigation, they naturally knew what Han Tao had done at the Nodding City Soul Master Academy. His attitude toward the teachers, the principal, and his classmates were all revealed to Ning Fengzhi. Ning Fengzhi knew that Han Tao owed old Jack and Xiao Qinyu a lot of money, so he deliberately raised the gold soul coin salary to 50 to see how Han Tao would deal with it. if Han Tao didn't use it to repay the money after he got it, there would naturally be no next stage of testing. As for the fourth test, the secret method of distraction control was taught to Han Tao. It was essentially an exchange. If Han Tao can take the initiative to hand over the method of improving his physical fitness to the sect, then this test will be passed. If not, although it would not kill him to keep it secret, it also meant that he would never be able to enter the core. The sect master still has a lot of chips in his hands. After Han Tao received his salary, he thought about it and sent the gold soul coins. Although he didn't think Ning Fengzhi would value him, he would not gamble on the 99.99/1000 chance. If there is an optimal strategy, then choose the optimal strategy, just like choosing soul skills subjectively, when you're not sure whether it's useful. Just say yes as the answer. After completing 3 rounds of meditation, Han Tao came to the book collection pavilion of Qibao Glazed Sect. In many novels, this kind of place is the place to obtain adventure skills. Han Tao was naturally no exception. He also wanted to see if he could obtain any magical skills. Can you read? Before he could enter, Han Tao was blocked by the elder guarding the palace. He took out a tablet, wrote a few words at random, and asked Han Tao to read them out. Youth, mathematics, ideal. After passing a simple test, the elder did not embarrass Han Tao anymore, but let him go in. What catches the eye is the complicated and majestic bookshelf. Han Tao took out a book at random. The cover of the book read 1 or 2 things about imperial style. Seeing Han Tao take out this book, the elder's eyes were a little contemptuous, and he said mockingly, "This book has been borrowed by the most people, so I put it at the front." Han Tao said good guy, casually glanced at the embarrassing pictures and texts, and quickly stuffed them back on the bookshelf. Seeing Han Tao put it back, the elder handed over a book review catalog. Then he returned to his original position, opened a book and started reading. If Han Tao returns to the front, he will find that the book the elder is reading is 1 or 2 things about imperial style, refined edition. The book review catalog has several sections, the top ones of which are martial souls, levels, and soul rings. Following the guidance of the review catalog, Han Tao came to the bookshelf in the Wuhuan area. Soon, he found a book that surprised him. Estimated combat power level of each martial spirit level. Soon, Han Tao turned to his martial soul, which had a not-so-detailed introduction. Martial spirit, blue silver grass, no soul ring, soul power, level 10, combat power, 2-4. Soul power, level 20, combat power, 5-8. There is no level 30 data. I guess there is no precedent for breaking through level 30. Let's look at the others. Han Tao turned to the page about the Clear Sky Hammer, martial spirit, Clear Sky Hammer, no soul ring, soul power, level 10, combat power, 9-11. Soul power, level 20, combat power, 26-29. Soul power, level 30, combat power, 51-55. Soul power, level 40, combat power, 84-89. If my prediction is correct, the growth coefficient of the Clear Sky Hammer is 0.8. Every time it increases by 10 levels, the growth coefficient doubles. According to the law of attribute growth, when blue silver grass reaches level 50, its combat power panel reaches 26-32, tying the level 20 Clear Sky Hammer. Han Tao's physical strength has reached 8.1 at this moment, and he can touch the floor of the Clear Sky Hammer, but his soul power and mental power are still a mess, and there is no way to solve it for the time being. The training techniques in my previous life are getting less and less effective. It seems that I have to think of a way. Push-ups and squats are all exercises to overcome gravity, and as the physique improves, the effects of these exercises will decline rapidly. The simplest way is to carry weights, but the effects of wearing weight-bearing equipment for training are not comprehensive. It would be great if there was a gravity field. If there is no such field, there can be a lower-level substitute. In the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect, it seems that there is a soul master whose soul skills are related to gravity. After putting the book back, Han Tao found Manager Ning and told him his purpose. Manager Ning, I have encountered some problems in my cultivation and may need your help. Manager Ning was stunned, glanced at Han Tao subtly, and responded coldly, "Oh. It's like this. I found that the effect of exercise has been getting weaker and weaker recently, so I want to find a soul master who can increase gravity to improve my physique. Hearing Han Tao's words, Manager Ning raised his eyebrows and was a little surprised. Do you have a way to improve your physique? Everyone knows that you can improve your physique through exercise, but exercise can easily cause injuries, which can cause irreversible effects on the body. Manager Ning did not interrupt Han Tao's story. Therefore, exercise, food supplements, and treatment complement each other and are indispensable. Manager Ning waved his hand. What Han Tao said was common sense and had no special meaning. He thought Han Tao was perfunctory. Children's theories are always naive and ridiculous, but they are understandable. We all know all this and have tested it in detail. At that time, we even invited the best 9-star Begonia Soul Master. In the end, we found that this method would greatly affect the growth potential, so it is meaningless. Han Tao's heart jumped. What Manager Ning said actually scared him for a while, but the truth becomes clearer as it is argued. Regardless of whether his theory is correct or not, he will continue to speak it out. There are many kinds of healing soul skills, and different healing soul skills will produce different effects. However, in addition to the healing effect, there is a more core attribute, the healing depth. The soul power of the crabapple flower can quickly repair the epidermis and muscles of living things, but it cannot involve the microscopic and meridians, which is what you call potential. As he spoke, Han Tao's voice suddenly stopped, because at this moment, Manager Ning instantly grabbed his collar and took his body to fly towards the master's room.